I don't know. I'm excited about today. I'm excited about the opportunity to be able to play the game that I love for another season. And, whatever the journey, however the journey, lays out this year, I'm just like super invested because like you just said, I don't know when the end is, but I know it's a lot sooner than later. So, being super appreciative of the
You have
fact.
12 million Instagram followers. How long did it take you to apologize to each one of them for Bumblebee? I walked out of that movie. I'm just kidding, I didn't walk out of the movie. I skipped out because I was so happy to be leaving.
Wow.
The whole league knows LeBron is done. Lakers owner finally says it. For years, it was the NBA's loudest whisper, the truth everyone saw but no one in power dared to speak. Until now. In a stunning, unfiltered moment, the owner of the Los Angeles Lakers has torn up the unwritten rulebook and confirmed the reality the entire basketball world has been tiptoeing around. The Kings' reign is officially over. And with that one seismic admission, the franchise has been thrown into chaos, the league has been put on notice, and the most consequential free agency in modern history has just been unofficially declared. This is the story of the end, the truth, and the tsunami of fallout that's just beginning. The setting was innocuous, a charitable fundraising gala in Denver, Colorado. It wasn't a Lakers event, but a gathering of sports owners and investors, a private, off-the-record conclave where the powerful speak more freely. The host, a prominent media figure, was conducting a relaxed fireside chat with several owners, including the Los Angeles Lakers' controlling owner Mark Walter. The conversation meandered through topics of franchise valuation, stadium deals, and the future of media rights. Then, circling back to competitive strategy, the host posed a hypothetical to the group. In your calculus, how do you balance legendary legacy against cold, hard future assets? Walter, the Guggenheim Partners billionaire known more for his financial acumen than his public pronouncements, leaned in. His demeanor was analytical, detached as if discussing a portfolio. Look, he stated, his voice clear and devoid of drama, you have to separate sentiment from strategy. There's a point where the asset's peak value on your ledger is in the past. The depreciation is a mathematical certainty. The entire league, he paused, making a sweeping gesture to the room, operates with this knowledge. They see the trend lines. They know when a paradigm-shifting entity is transitioning from appreciating to a depreciating asset. The hard part isn't knowing it. Everyone knows it. The hard part is having the institutional will to act on that knowledge before sentiment bankrupts your future. The room of peers fell into a stunned, respectful silence. He hadn't said a name. He didn't have to. The context was the Lakers. The paradigm-shifting entity was LeBron James. The phrase "the whole league knows" wasn't an opinion. It was presented as a market fact. In that sterile financial language, Mark Walter had done what no fiery talk show host or brave journalist ever could. He had formally, publicly, and without malice stated that LeBron James's era of supreme, franchise-altering value was objectively, recognizably over. It was a boardroom euthanasia of a legend's competitive prime. A wire service reporter in the room, understanding the bombshell that had just been dropped in analysts' clothing, immediately filed a one-line bulletin. Within an hour, the basketball world was on fire, not from a shout, but from the chilling, unimpeachable calm of a billionaire's spreadsheet logic.
The best, because LeBron was twice as good as anyone else when he was at his best. He may still be a little better than everyone else, maybe. That's number one. Usually he has the playoffs to prove that. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. I'm scared the Lakers aren't going to get out of the first round. That's one. Number two, part of aging is injury.
What is a depreciating asset?
An asset that you buy and then immediately it loses value.
Amazing. And that happens over time. Check you
Yeah.
out. Are you she's on the money?
Mark Walter's words were not a hot take. They were a cold audit. By framing LeBron James as a depreciating asset, he didn't just comment on basketball. He translated a legend into the language of quarterly reports and balance sheets. This was the true shock. A A coach or a rival player questioning LeBron's ability would have sparked a war of words. An owner stating a financial fact sparked a silent, systemic panic. The phrase, "the whole league knows," was the most devastating part. It painted every front office, every rival executive, as complicit in a shared, unspoken truth. It suggested that the public debates about LeBron's decline were a theatrical sideshow, and that in the backrooms where trades are conceived, his value had already been reassessed. Walter was implying that the Lakers were potentially the last ones to act on this universal knowledge, held hostage by the very sentiment, the legacy, the nostalgia, the ticket sales that his comments so dismissively set aside. He exposed a potential failure not of basketball judgment, but of corporate governance. This also reframed the entire Lakers' recent struggle. The playoff exits, the injury-managed seasons, the moments of visible fatigue, they were no longer just bad luck or coaching failures. Through Walter's lens, they were the predictable, quantifiable outputs of an asset entering its depreciation phase. The institutional will, he mentioned, was a direct public challenge to his own basketball operations staff and to his partner, Jeannie Buss. It asked point blank, are we a basketball family clinging to glory, or are we a multi-billion-dollar entity making rational, if painful, portfolio adjustments? By saying the quiet part out loud, Walter didn't just describe a situation, he created a new, unbearable pressure point. He made the unthinkable, the conscious, deliberate end of the LeBron James era in Los Angeles sound like the next logical and even overdue line item on an executive's agenda. The sentiment was dead. The spreadsheet was now in charge.
Now, I also want to just kind of throw this out there. Walter has owned the Dodgers since, I believe 2012 was when he bought the Dodgers. But, he didn't come in and just start spending crazy amounts of money, right? Although he did buy the Dodgers, and eventually he started spending a ton of money. And in the last 6 years, they won 3 titles. He hasn't went all in some of his past ventures, right? He owns Chelsea FC Premier League.
Well, I'm going to say this. Watch Dennis Schroeder. He just stood there. If I'm Darvin Ham.
The fallout from Mark Walters' detached analysis was immediate and manifested in 2 starkly different ways: public paralysis and private, frenetic activity. Publicly, the Lakers universe froze. There was no statement from the team. LeBron James's social media, normally a curated stream of business, family, and motivation, went dark, a silence more profound than any rant. His agent, Rich Paul of Clutch Sports, gave a terse, no comment to inquiring reporters, a response more threatening in its brevity than any lengthy rebuttal. The Lakers' players, coaching staff, and front office personnel all offered variations of focused on the next game and internal matter, their eyes glued to the floor. It was the silence of a family that just heard the patriarch diagnosed with a terminal illness in the middle of a party. The party was over. The grim reality had been named, and now everyone was just waiting to see what happened next. Privately, the league's engine roared to life. General managers and presidents of basketball operations who had been operating for years under the assumption that LeBron was untouchable now had to reopen files they'd long considered closed. Conversations that were once theoretical, what if the Lakers actually made him available, became urgent, strategic dialogues. The whole league that Walter claimed knew the truth was now forced to act on it. Calls were placed. Trade machine scenarios, once a fan's fantasy, were now being sketched out by analytics departments. The goal was no longer to acquire LeBron James, the omnipotent basketball god. The goal, as framed by Walter's own language, was to acquire a high-prestige, high-cost, depreciating asset that could provide a short-term boost in ticket sales, jersey revenue, and maybe a playoff push, with a clear-eyed understanding of the long-term financial and roster-building cost. The entire perception of LeBron's value had been publicly reset, from priceless franchise cornerstone to complex, high-maintenance acquisition. Walter's comments didn't lower LeBron's trade value, they transformed the very currency in which it was measured.
Now approved
Yeah.
as owner of the Los Angeles Lakers. You've been reporting on this. Last week you said it would happen by Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
It's already done. How did they expedite this so quickly?
I think it was a very simple transaction. It was 1-to-1. It was Literally just Mark in there. I know there's some reporting out there that Todd Bowley is in there.
Right.
And I think it doesn't matter where you center the story, the setting, backdrop. If you're dealing with the conflict.
In the face of this corporate declaration of his professional mortality, LeBron James executed his most powerful move yet: absolute, towering silence. There was no fiery Instagram post, no cryptic tweet, no pointed media session. He did not demand a trade. He did not defend his honor. He simply went to work. At the next Lakers practice, multiple witnesses described a chilling scene. LeBron was the first on the floor and the last to leave. He ran drills with a ferocious, mechanical precision. He led film sessions, pointing out coverages with the focus of a rookie. He was, by all accounts, the perfect teammate and leader. This was not acceptance. This was a gambit of monumental scale. His silence was a deafening rebuttal. It said, "You can talk about depreciation and assets. The league can whisper, but you still have to watch me work. You still have to put me on the floor. And while I'm there, I am still the most consequential force in this sport." He was making himself impossible to manage. By being flawless in his professionalism, he removed the easy excuse for moving him. He wouldn't give them a drama to justify the cold calculus. He would only give them basketball, forcing them to make the move based purely on the numbers Walter cited, to look him in the eye every day and treat a walking legend as a line item to be liquidated. This placed Mark Walter and the front office in an excruciating bind. LeBron's response had raised the human cost of the transaction to an almost unbearable level. Trading a disgruntled star is one thing. Trading a fully engaged, productive, and publicly silent LeBron James after your owner has already announced his decline would be an act of such stark, heartless brutality that it would define the Lakers' brand for a generation. It would be the day the franchise officially became a hedge fund. LeBron, by mastering his own narrative through quiet action, had called their bluff. He forced them to either follow through on the brutal logic and become villains, or to back down and reveal.
LeBron, just wanted to talk to you about, since you've been here, you always have been the first person in the gym. Even with your greatness, I talked to Tyrese Maxey. He said he went to the gym at 5:30 and you were already in a deep sweat at 5. He was like, he's the only person that's ever beat me. Talk about that, having that work ethic and that drive, even with the greatness and success you've had so far.
Oh, I think you're only going to get out of the game as much as you put into it. And for me, I've always wanted to be.
He's saying it's a horrible call. He's not happy here. He's got it talking to Jamal and I, to fans, to Peyton's kids. He's having a good time here.
Mark Walter's comments didn't just echo across the league. They detonated inside the Lakers' own executive suite, exposing a fundamental schism that had likely been festering for years. On one side, the faction aligned with Walter's cold calculus, the financiers, the cap strategists, the data analysts. Their argument was pure, if brutal, logic. The asset's peak value-driving years, those where his on-court performance single-handedly guaranteed finals appearances, maxed out TV ratings, and spiked franchise valuation, were in the past. Future returns would be diminishing. The rational move was to trade that asset now, at the tail end of its perceived elite value, for a package of younger, appreciating assets, high-potential players, draft picks that could fuel the next decade. It was a portfolio rebalance. On the other side stood the faction of sentiment and legacy, likely championed by Jeannie Buss and those deeply woven into the Lakers' mythological fabric. To them, LeBron wasn't an asset. He was a chapter in the Holy Book. He was the connection to her father's dream, the deliverer of the bubble championship in Kobe's shadow, the living bridge between Showtime and the modern era. Trading him wasn't a spreadsheet decision. It was a sacrilege. It was admitting that the family business couldn't support its greatest modern tenant, that the lights of Hollywood had dimmed. Their strategy was based on loyalty, narrative, and the hope of a storybook ending, however improbable. Walter's public statement was a nuclear option in this internal war. By stating the whole league knows, he made the internal argument external. He forced the sentiment camp's hand. They could no longer operate on private hope and legacy. The market reality had been declared. To ignore it now would be seen by their own business partners not as noble, but as negligent, a failure of fiduciary duty. The owner had publicly sided with the spreadsheet, leaving the guardians of legacy emotionally devastated and strategically cornered. The question was no longer if the Lakers would pivot, but whether Jeannie Buss and the legacy keepers would be part of the decision or merely its heartbroken witnesses. The castle walls weren't just cracking, the very ground they were built on had been sold from underneath them by the man who held the deed.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, for me, since my first NBA Finals appearance, I think in 2007, the moment I got an opportunity to be a part of that and taste that feeling, from there on, every season that I did not make it to the finals or did not win a championship has been
I can name 3 untradeable players in the NBA right now.
I can name 6 untradeable NBA players.
6. I can name 7.
I hate you so much. I can name 10.
No, you can't.
Mike, I can name 11.
You can name 11 untradeable players. No one.
Mark Walters' statement and the volcanic silence that followed have irrevocably changed the NBA's landscape. We are now living in the aftermath. The unspoken rule protecting active legends has been repealed. A new, more ruthless precedent has been set. Even the most monumental careers will be subjected to public, cold-blooded financial autopsy while the heart is still beating. The whole league didn't just know. It has now been given permission to act on that knowledge without fear of being the first to break the taboo. The transfer of power from the player to the front office, long a trend, has been dramatically accelerated. For the Lakers, there is no clean path forward. They are trapped in a purgatory of their own making. If they trade LeBron now, they are the villains who exiled a silent working king based on a spreadsheet, and they will be haunted by the what-if of his final defiant years elsewhere. If they keep him, Walter's words hang over the franchise like a shroud, a constant, humbling reminder that the owner declared his best player a depreciating asset. Every loss will be framed as proof Walter was right. Every win will be framed as a surprising overperformance from a declining stock. They have lost the sacred veil of competitive mystery. The partnership is dead. What remains is a transactional coexistence under a blinding, uncomfortable light. Finally, for LeBron James, this moment has forged a new, final phase of his legacy. He is no longer just chasing championships or records. He is now engaged in a monumental, existential proof of concept. He is proving with every game, every pass, every defensive rotation that the concept of done is a fiction created in boardrooms that cannot comprehend the will of a legend. His final act will not be defined by a ring, but by a resistance, a refusal to be quantified, depreciated, and filed away by the cold logic of the modern sports machine. Mark Walter said the whole league knows he's done. LeBron's silence and his relentless work is his answer. Let them watch. The game within the game has become the only game that matters, and its stakes are the very soul of his historic career. So what is the final score in this war of whispers and wills? Was Mark Walter right to speak a brutal financial truth that reshapes how we view legends? Or did he make a catastrophic error, shattering the mythos in his own franchise for a cold dose of reality that has left them powerless? Is LeBron's profound silence and relentless work the ultimate power move, a testament to a legacy that defies all calculators? Or is it the final proud stand of a great force against the inevitable time of time and business? The lines are drawn, the old rules are gone. The league, the Lakers, and LeBron himself will never be the same. Who won this round? Sound off in the comments below. For the deepest analysis of the stories that redefine the NBA, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. We don't